Spinosaurus is regarded as the largest, though not the most dangerous, terrestrial predator to ever roam our planet. This dinosaur was larger not only than Tyrannosaurus rex but also than Giganotosaurus. Like its relatives, Spinosaurus was a theropod, meaning it belonged to the group of bipedal carnivorous dinosaurs. However, few known dinosaurs have undergone such frequent changes in appearance throughout their study. Over the course of more than 100 years since this species was discovered, scientists have revised their understanding of its form and behavior at least 5 times. The first discoveries of Spinosaurus remains date back to the early 20th century. German paleontologist Ernst Stromer found 2 skeletons of an unknown dinosaur species during his expeditions in North Africa. Unfortunately, the skeletons were not fully preserved, leading to initial depictions of Spinosaurus that differed significantly from those proposed by modern researchers. Since the more complete of the 2 skeletons was discovered in Egypt, the species name reflects this geographical connection. The name Spinosaurus itself comes from Greek words meaning spine and lizard. The species identified by Stromer was officially named Egyptian and Moroccan Spinosaurus, but the latter was only partially preserved, leading some scientists to question this classification. Due to the lack of information, the first illustration of Spinosaurus resembled a pinniped or a cetacean. Instead of the familiar dorsal sail, an enormous fat hump was depicted, and flippers replaced the forelimbs. The hind limbs were entirely absent in the illustration, and the tail resembled that of a fish. The mouth of Spinosaurus was depicted somewhat accurately, but instead of a long, narrow snout, the paleontologist suggested the presence of a small trunk. Overall, the first portrait presented Spinosaurus as a gigantic, toothy sea elephant. Scientists quickly abandoned this interpretation, but despite initially portraying it as a theropod, it resembled a giant predatory kangaroo with a sail on its back. The idea of a fat hump, uncharacteristic of predators, was dismissed by Stromer himself, yet some later reconstructions revisited similar concepts. For nearly the rest of the 20th century, this depiction was considered accurate. However, illustrators of some dinosaur books portrayed it walking on 4 legs. Scientists understood that Spinosaurus was a specialized predator, but they struggled to accurately define its specialization. Then, the discovery of another dinosaur from the Spinosauridae family, Baryonyx, in England provided new insights. At first, only a single large claw was discovered. 3 years later, scientists unearthed a skeleton that was about 70% intact. A few years after that, the undeniable relationship between Spinosaurus and Baryonyx was established. Researchers suggested that these structurally similar animals likely shared similar behaviors. There was little doubt regarding Baryonyx's specialization. The structure of its head and jaws indicated that it was a fish-eating dinosaur. It wasn't until the late 1990s that the image of Spinosaurus began to resemble what the public knows today, largely thanks to films by Steven Spielberg. This transformation in appearance was made possible by the discovery of new specimens. At that time, several well-preserved skeletons were found in North Africa, and some specimens were acquired from private collections. However, many dinosaur enthusiasts were not particularly pleased with the scene in the latest installment of Jurassic Park, where Spinosaurus defeats Tyrannosaurus rex. Anyone with even a basic understanding of the subject could see that such an outcome was highly unlikely. Unlike T. rex, Spinosaurus was not built for battling other dinosaurs. While its large size, impressive claws, and teeth are formidable weapons, they were primarily designed for hunting fish and other aquatic animals. In these films, Spinosaurus was portrayed as a classic large theropod. It had the typical body structure seen in all members of this class, with large hind limbs, short forelimbs, and a powerful tail. Its distinguishing features included a dorsal sail and a narrow, crocodilian snout. Recent depictions of Spinosaurus have given it a flatter, longer tail reminiscent of modern-day salamanders. With such a build and tail length, its gait would have differed from that of T. rex. Scientists believe that when moving on land, the dinosaur's back and head were positioned more horizontally, almost parallel to the ground. According to various estimates, Spinosaurus could reach lengths of up to 18 meters and weigh as much as 20 tons. The largest skull found from this creature measures 2.5 meters long. Spinosaurus teeth closely resemble those of modern crocodiles that feed on fish. They are not serrated like those of T. rex and are instead curved backward. The purpose of the dorsal sail remains uncertain. Some hypotheses suggest it may have been used for thermoregulation or attracting mates. In addition to the lizard that gave its name to the entire Spinosauridae family, several other dinosaur species belong to this group. While they have been studied to varying degrees, their similarities and relationships are not in question among scientists. Let's take a closer look at some of the dinosaurs from the Spinosauridae family. Baryonyx. We previously discussed the discovery of this dinosaur that lived in what is now northern England during the late Cretaceous period. The skeleton found, featuring claws measuring around 70 centimeters, belonged to a not fully mature specimen, so we don't know the true size of the adults of this species. Baryonyx is characterized by its straight neck, rather than an S-shaped one, equally long claws on both its front and hind limbs, and an elongated snout filled with 96 large teeth. Its forelimbs were relatively long, allowing it to occasionally rise up on all fours, despite primarily walking on its hind legs. The structure of its jaws and teeth suggests that Baryonyx primarily fed on fish. It's likely that its fishing technique resembled that of modern bears. Interestingly, there is no evidence of a dorsal sail in this relative of Spinosaurus. Cretaceous. This dinosaur, on the other hand, did have a crest on its back. Although it's not as prominent as that of Spinosaurus, it is what gives this species its name. Cretaceous translates to crested lizard. It lived during the early Cretaceous period on the African continent. The skeleton of Cretaceous was discovered during excavations in Niger. Due to the lack of other findings, some scientists argue that this dinosaur should not be classified as a separate species. Zooham. Some researchers propose that the remains found in Niger belong to this species. Zooham inhabited the region of what is now the Sahara Desert around 110 million years ago, when it was a swampy area. This lizard primarily fed on fish. The specimens found suggest that its body length exceeded 10 meters, with a weight of just under 5 tons. Irritator. This dinosaur lived during the same period but on a different continent. The only skeleton found was discovered in Brazil. Reconstruction of the remains revealed that this dinosaur measured about 8 meters in length and featured an unusual crest at the back of its skull. Axolalia. Considered the largest theropod discovered in Brazil, Axolalia was first identified in 1999, with an incomplete upper jaw found in 2004. Based on these remains, scientists have reconstructed its likely appearance. It is believed to have reached lengths of up to 14 meters and weighed around 7 tons. Thank you for watching the video until the end. You can learn more about the history of the discovery and study of other dinosaur species and prehistoric animals in our upcoming videos.